Thank you for joining us today for the virtual Sunday service with the Center for Creative Living. CCL, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master, has served and supported the spiritual needs of its community here in the Bay Area for over 20 years.
Good morning. For those of you who haven't been here before, this is the Center for Creative Living, and I'm the pastor. My name is Reverend Doti Boon. And we meet here every Sunday, and what we do is our church services, it's very unique in the fact that we're a spiritualist church. So what we do is we believe that all faiths matter. And whatever faith you are, welcome. And if you're agnostic or atheist, you're still very welcome, because we believe we're all children of the Creator. And so you're going to hear people talk here that are Jewish. We have people who are Zoroastrian. We have people Islamic. And each one has a story of why or how they came here. And it's always very interesting. We're a little light today because I think a lot of our people also went out and celebrated last night. And hallelujah, it sounds good to me. That's another spiritual thing that you can do. CCL is a charter of the Universal Church of the Masters, and that is a church that has been around since 1908. And part of its charter, our charter at CCL, is that we can do psychic readings, we can do getting in touch with spirit. Our wonderful Loni here is a gifted psychic. How many of you have ever had a feeling you're not alone? There's spirit, something's coming through you. Yeah, and that's true. And so we nurture that. We help you get in touch with it. Okay. I have been doing predictions on a New Year's Day now for 25 years. So I'm kind of old hat at this. We passed out cards. You can either write it down, or if you get so moved that you want to stand up and ask me a question, that's fine too. The reason I have the cards is for anonymity. If you're not interested in other people know about your sex life or whatever, it's like, okay, this way I can read the cards, okay. And so it's one of those things that's really interesting. And if you've got a card that you've written out, April, it will pick them up for us. And every Sunday we start with a blessing. And so Loni, would you like to do a blessing this morning? And nobody ever knows who I'm going to choose. This is how their psychic ability works, okay? Some of you might know Loni. She is here quite often on Wednesday night and plays bingo. Glad to have her part of our ministry.
No, I don't have to do a meditation.
No, you can just do something that says, hi, we're here.
Okay.
Hey, Spirit, we're here.
Oh, I'm really short. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right. Beloved Mother, Father, God, Goddess, all that is, all that we love. We are so happy for this new year and to let go of 22, which had a lot of conflict and a lot of things that were not pleasant, and yet a lot of miracles that were. We are so thankful for last year, for all that we've learned, all that the friends we have gathered, and for all the love that we've had. We pray that this year, 2023, is an absolute miracle, that we evolve into a much happier and healthier and wiser and wealthier humanity. And we thank you that this is done, and we love you, and we are blessed. Om, peace, amen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How many of you have ever had a psychic reading? Anybody here? Yeah. Well, then good. Then you know the thing about prophecy is when you tell somebody that something's going to be happening. And prophetic telling, fortune telling, has been around for centuries. I felt that when I was in Greece and we went to where the Oracle of Delphi was. And you could feel that energy. It was just kind of, whoa. But the Delphi Oracle was not the earliest. We see things on walls that have shown hands with marks on them, like somebody was reading that hand and saying what was coming up. Prophetic healing, prophetic readings have been around for as long as we know. And why? Well, because people are interested in what the heck's going to happen to them in that next year, sometimes just tomorrow. What's going to be happening? And so when we talk about that, we aren't building temples to oracles like they were in the old days. But we do have people right now in the United States. There's 94,000 listed psychics, people that are doing readings of various types, whether you call it fortune telling, whatever you call it. And some of them, yeah, they're scams. Okay. When I say scams, they do things like, you send me $25, I'll do a reading, and then you never hear from them again. Now that's a scam. But as far as most of the people who are coming from a spiritual heart, do some wonderful, wonderful ways, readings that are going to help you in the future and how to deal with things that are coming up. This morning I'm going to be channeling my spirit guide. And my spirit guide's name is Mahalalel. I call him Ma, M-A-H. I met Ma when I was 5 years old. I was sitting in a cardboard box, and many years ago. And he appeared and he started talking to me, and I thought he was wearing a bandage on his head because it was during the Second World War. It wasn't until I was much older I realized he was wearing a turban. And my spirit guide is of the Hindu belief, and he's a very interesting man. It's kind of interesting when I say that because he comes from India, and obviously I don't. And so we have a really good communication that goes on. And sometimes he says, I don't know. And he brings in another being that's called Spotted Dove, and she is Native American. And so if it has to do with healing, sometimes I hear that. I hear a voice in my head, and I believe everybody has a voice. I believe every one of you came in with a spirit guide. For me, it's interesting because it's male, and I can tell when I'm hearing a man's voice or when I'm hearing that voice talking to me, my Doti voice. And so if you have a feeling that there's somebody trying to talk to you, tell them to change their voice. It's real easy. People are out there that are spiritual beings, and they're yours. You came in with somebody who is here to help you. So try and get in touch with them. I had somebody call me. No, they didn't call me. They texted me. And she wanted to know if she would be traveling this coming year. And hopefully she's on Zoom, because what my guide says is that, yes, you're going to be traveling, and you're traveling someplace where they speak English, but it's in a different ocean. And so I hope she understands what I'm talking about. And if she comes in later, I'll tell her in person. There's somebody with initials of RN who also texted me and wants to know what to do about a relationship. And so my guide said that he needed some kind of counseling, couple counseling, and the reason being because he needed to figure out what he was doing, not so much what the other person was doing. And sometimes that happens when you're in a relationship. It's all about them and what they're doing wrong. So that was the answer that I got. So as you see, what happens is when you ask my spirit guide a question, the answer, sometimes you'll go, wait a minute, that seems a little vague. Well, if you think it's vague, ask another question. You can always do more questions. I wake up every morning questioning, what am I going to do today? What is going to happen here? And I find that I get remarkable answers. And so I want you to realize you have a spiritual connection. And if you haven't gotten in touch with it yet, just start asking, and you'll be amazed at what happens. Okay? All right. Yes, April.
Can you tell us about last night, what Ma had to say?
Oh, I will. I'm waiting for you to ask the question, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I was just talking about Our Lady who came in. You had asked about traveling.
Yes.
And Ma said, yes, we see you traveling and we see you going, especially going abroad, but going somewhere people speak English. So just put that there and see what happens, okay? If you start making travel plans, we'll talk some more about where it is, okay? And because when Ma said that, I said, Ma, there are people speak English all over the world now. And he said, no, it's their given language.
The official language.
Their official language. Okay, that's great.
There's still a couple still
Okay.
writing.
If you're still writing, are you ready to go? You ready for me to start answering questions? Okay, I've got a JS. And what they want to know is about their career in 2023. And what my guide says is that in 2023, not only is your career going to be really, I want to say rebounding, because that's what my guide is telling me. Your career is rebounding, and it's really going to start taking off. And Ma says, don't ever retire. He says, you've got such a good thing going in your life. And when you retire, you just are going to sit down and not do anything. So his remarks here are, because your career is just getting started, and you might feel like it's a little bit late in life, but Ma says, no, it's not. It's absolutely the time that your career is going to really start going. And when I say going, he says that you have a career that is just kind of here, and all of a sudden it's going to take a left turn, and it's going to start accelerating. So look around, because you already know the people that are going to help you. Okay, and what do you expect in my love life? My guide says, that's up to you. Oh, I hate it when he says that. He says, you've got somebody already who really cares for you, and you're completely ignoring them. So please look around. There is an energy there that feels really strong, but for some reason you're ignoring it. And when you ignore somebody who's interested in you, Ma says you also tend to put up a shield towards the world. So please find a way to let go of that. And as people are offering their companionship, or offering their love, Ma says, start accepting it in a way that isn't saying, oh yeah, you're the one, but says, I like you. Because you need to open up more to all of this. You know a lot of people, and there's a couple of folks that are going to be really interested in you this year. Okay. Okay. This is from CM. A general reading. There's a lot of words here, right? Okay. She's talking about a house is its house going to sell? Okay, that's going to bring me into a whole area that Mom wants to talk about. If you have a piece of property and you want to sell it quickly. Things are going to get bad in the market, mainly because the interest rate's going up, and a lot of people have a house that they don't know what to do with, but they know they want to move, so this is the time. Do it. Don't wait until next year, meaning 2024. 2023 is the time to sell, because the price of housing is going to come down. For those of you who want to buy a house, that's a good market. You'll know that, yeah, hey, I can do that. I can buy a house now. It's not $1.5 million. It's going to be down under $1 million. So start looking and find a house you really like, and then do whatever wonderful way you have of bringing about things. Start looking at that house and saying, I want you, however you do that, and start getting the energy going, okay? Somebody here wants to know if I will be able to find a way to get in touch with my loved ones on the other side. Oh, yes. What's happened is you're too, Mom says you're too eager. He says there are people on the other side that want to talk to you, and they've been giving you little signs that they're there. And you're not picking up on them. You're getting a little bit dense here. So if you walk by the television and it just flutters, that's a sign. People on the other side come through electricity. The energy between you after you die and you go on the other side is very akin to electrical current here. So if your TV flickers, as the front light on your front porch flickers, if you get that pulsation, yes, stop and say, who's trying to get in touch? And they'll tell you. And so that's one of those things that you want to do is open up to that. But you can't be in your head so that you are constantly thinking for your loved ones to come through. Okay, do you understand that? You need to figure out, how can I let that energy come through? Through meditation, through prayer. Anybody in here raised Catholic? Okay. One of the best ways to meditate is using the rosary. You might not be a practicing Catholic, but to get into that ability to meditate, pick up the rosary and start saying it. I was raised Catholic for part of my life, and I still will, and I found out that I can use my fingers instead of the beads too to do prayer, and that puts me in that space where I can receive energy from people who've gone before. So use that as a technique. I'm sure a lot of you meditate already, and that meditation is well known to be a good way to get in touch with spirit, with people on the other side. People on the other side really don't care what you have to say. Okay? So when you think of that, you go, oh, they've got their own being right now. And if you're that little kid that's knocking on the door, you know, hello, I'm here, hello, I'm here. Pretty soon, they're going, oh, that kid is there again. Whether the kid is their son or their daughter, they just, okay. What you do is you do it intently. You just stop, go into meditation, calm down, and say, I'd like to speak to my mother. And wait. Don't get anxious. Mom will come through if she knows you're ready and you're quiet enough to receive. But if she feels that you're just, it's kind of like a game or you just need to complain or something, no. But if you really want to talk to her, she'll be there for you. And that's the same with dad, uncles, whoever. But you have to be open to receive. And to be open to receive means you've got to get that mind shut off. That's going natty, 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 natty. How many of you have a mind that does that? That says, what am I doing here? Why am I here? What do they think about me? Does anybody like my hair? Oh, I got my hair cut. I wonder if anybody wants it. I want to be spiritual. I don't know how to be spiritual. Well, please tell me how to be. You say, oh, shut up. Tell that mind. Shh. Okay? You're in control. Your mind isn't the one that's controlling you all the time. You're in control. So to be able to receive, you want to calm your mind down. Okay? And when will Trump be indicted? Trump's going to get indicted, but he's not going to get imprisoned. I asked Mom, I said, why not? And he said, it's something about setting a precedent, and they're going to find him guilty of quite a few things, but they're somehow, and I don't know that much about what the court system is doing or what court system is ruling on this, but Mom says, yes, he's going to be found guilty of a few things, but that if people want to see him behind bars, and we don't see that's going to be happening. Okay? Anybody want to ask any more questions on that one before I go on? Oh, yes.
Is he going to be president?
No, mainly because of his health. His health isn't doing too well. Neither is Joe Biden's health area. We don't see either of those men president in 2024. So we've got somebody brand new on the horizon. So far, I haven't found out who it is. Ma says, yep, there's somebody new. And Ma says that kind of in a way he's not even sure yet. Something's going on there. And I have somebody who wants to know what does Ma have going on for them for the next year. Well, this year, it's this year, not next year, that's 2024. This year, 2023. Ma says you're working on your health, and also you're working on uniting your home. And he says that's one of the things that you're going to be doing is, I almost said unionizing your home, which made me kind of giggle, because I think we all sometimes want to go on strike, and you don't unionize our home. But Ma says, yes, you got work to do, but first you have to heal yourself. And this is true to anybody who hasn't been feeling well. Don't try to solve the world's problems or the problems of your family until you get healthy. Because if you do, what Ma says is you're going to find your health getting worse and worse and worse. So you have to maintain your health before you can go any further. Okay. Some better luck with finances this year. Yes. Ma says you're finally going to start selling yourself. You're finally going to start realizing how good you are.
Marketing per se.
Marketing.
Mom, they're yelling at you. Wait just a minute, I'm going to have to sit down. I've been standing a little bit here. Okay, let me see. Ed, do you think you could help me? Somebody could just move this chair for me. Thank you, Mary. Okay. Marketing yourself, because Ma says you are not aware of how good you are at what you do. Thank you, Mary. And so this is something that you need to do. Start writing up a brochure that says all the positive and all the things that you've done and how good you are. And once you start marketing yourself, you're going to be making a lot more money. So you've got it. It's right there. Ma says you need to jump out and do it. Okay. Well, I find the growth I'm looking for this year in my profession. That's really interesting because Ma says you have to define your profession a little bit better. I have no idea what he means by that. But he says, because you're good at what you do, but for some people it's a little bit too specialized. But if you just apply yourself and keep working on this, we see that you're going to be moving forward. And it looks very good. 2023 is going to be a great year for you, but don't be too, he says, you spread yourself too thin. Find a way to just focus on what you're doing and not focusing on a lot of different things. I think this is what everybody wants to know. I don't think this is what they meant. They said, will 2020 be a good year? No, 2020 was a lousy year, and I think what they mean, will 2023 be a good year? It depends on what you mean by good. Is COVID going away? No. Are we all of a sudden going to have racial equality? No. Is there going to be inflation? Yes. Is the stock market going to have problems? Yes. All of these things are pretty heavy things. How do you handle them is what's important. When you know what's coming up, how do you handle it? Are you the type of person that buries himself in the sand? Are you the type of person that puts the covers over your head? Are you the person that says, I'm going to get out there and make a difference? If you're the type that refuses to look at the way things are, you're never going to be happy. Accept where you are right now. Accept that you're in the Billy DeFrank Center sitting here. You're not out putting out fires. You're not out finding a cure for diseases, but you are finding out more about yourself. And that's where you need to be today. So start looking at where do you need to be in life. Have you ever thought of that? Where do I need to be in life? And don't put yourself in positions where you don't want to be. And Ma's really, really intent on telling each one of you in this room how wonderful you are. And anytime you feel that you're less than, stop it. You're the greatest gift there is for you. There's nobody else that's better for you than you. And think about that. Now, I'm standing up here, overweight, 85 nearly.
You're 85.
What?
You're 85 now?
Yeah, and I will be this year. And I'm talking to you, and without saying, well, look at me, I've got blah, 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 blah. Hey, I'm alive, I'm as sexy as hell, and I'm going for it. And so just think about it, okay? Do it. Don't hide your light under the bushel, because Mom says each one of you has a gift. Find that gift. That gift is the way you present yourself. And think about it. Wear red. Don't wear black. If you want to be invisible, you're not going to find who you truly are. And I know, I like wearing a black dress because I think it's, take 5 ounces off my weight. But think about that. If you want to be seen in life, be seen. Wear something that you can put on. Like, I love this hat. That hat is great. Wearing a purple hat. Look at this green beret. Don't they stand out? Aren't you glad they're here? Yes, let's hear it for the people that are here. And so think about that, because this is what I hear from Ma every single day of my life. When I get up and I go, oh, such and such hurts, and he says, oh, get over it. You're old. Isn't that fun? We have a spare kite. Yeah, just get over it. This one said, should I? I can't read the last word. Should I switch careers? It looks like colors, and I like that too. I just talked about color. If you really want to, and why I say that, because you like what you do, but you're not in love with it. And Mom says, find a career path of doing something that you wake every morning so excited to do it. Right now, the career you have, you're not that excited. It's not bad, but let's start looking around and see what career you can move into. Okay? This one is, will I enter my next project? And it has a star on it. Ma says that project is going to be opening up all fields for you. It's fantastic. So please don't hesitate. Move forward as fast as you can, because this is a great project. The next one is, and right now what you're doing doesn't it might pay the bills, but it doesn't make you feel as excited as you can if you go on to a next one. Okay. I'm on a life that excites me again. Not sure about I want to make money so that my life is great. Okay. How is money going to make your life great? If you don't believe you're great, you need some kind of job where you know you're great. I want to tell you a quick story. When I was 8 years old, I lived in a little town called Lancaster in the desert. And I was the only child at that time. My family went on to have 9 more kids. But anyway, the whole other story. I had a tennis ball, and there was a piece of wood that somebody had cut off, about like this. And I put it on the board, and I went like that, and I bounced that ball. All summer, I bounced that ball until I got up to, I could bounce it 895 times without missing it. And I declared myself champion of the world. Now, the fact that nobody else wanted to do that didn't bother me. I was the champion. And think of that. What is it that you know you do better than anybody else? You might, and for people that sew, you might thread a needle better than anybody else. For people who are really into sex, you might be the best lover and beat anybody else. For whatever it is, you might bake a cake better. I mean, think of what is it you do very, very well. And brag about it. Somehow people say you shouldn't brag. I say everybody should. My guide says you're supposed to go out there and shout from the rooftops how good you are, not how bad you are. And so when you look about this, this person wants to do something that excites her. Okay? Now she has to sit down and say, what do I really like to do that's exciting? Or make a list. How many things do you do that are exciting? Think of it. How many? If you can think of one, you're really starting down that path. And then maybe it'll lead to two. But make lists of all the things you've ever wanted to do. I'll give you an idea. I raced cars. I used to drive cars out at Willow Springs Raceway. For any of you who saw the movie Ford versus Ferrari, that was my era. That was my racetrack. It's in there. I can remember the different curves I went around. Why did I race cars? Because I wanted to. Did I do it for a long time? No. I found it's very expensive. And at that time, there weren't any women race car drivers. And that was just, the guys would kind of like, oh, hey, little girl. I hated that. And I found, even when I had a pilot's license and I could fly a plane, I found that I was still being treated like that little girl. And I kept saying, no, I'm a person. So if you haven't stood up for yourself as a person, what's keeping you? Listen to your spiritual guidance. Each one of you has a guide. And it doesn't make any difference if you know their name. I just happen to know that my spirit guide's name is Mahalalel. And I call him Ma, M-A-H. But I have other people who have worked through me. And each one of you has. And when you think of it, you'll remember back when you woke up from a dream where something was going on that pertained to either your career or to your health or to your schooling. Listen to those dreams. That's your channeling. That's the way that you start moving forward and becoming more psychic and more in tune. And it means that you have to do it. You just have to take the time and believe in yourself that you're hearing a voice. We've been told that if you hear a voice in your head, you're crazy. How many of you have ever heard that? Amen. I'm going to disappear here. Okay, how many of you ever heard if you hear voices, you're crazy? Yeah, no. If you hear voices, quite often you're channeling. And so start thinking about, what does that mean if I hear a voice and it tells me something? It means that you're connected to spirit. Okay? Thank you, Ed. And what that means is you're part of the whole continuum of life after death, after life after death. Have you been here before? Yes, everybody in here has been here before. If you hadn't been here before, you wouldn't be interested in this topic. So know that you have experienced it. Were you male, female? Could be either. Don't get caught up in, oh, did I have long blonde hair in the past life? I don't care. Spirit doesn't care. You were. That's the most important thing. And start looking at what turns you on in this lifetime. What do you really like? It's probably something you'd encountered in a previous incarnation. So if somebody says, well, I'll tell you what your past life was, listen to what they have to say. And if it vibrates and you can feel it, then look more into it. Read about that period of history. Okay, read about who you were, and you'll be amazed at what you did. And don't judge it. If you were a murderer in a past life, some of you were. Okay. What did you learn during that time? You probably learned that you were sad afterwards, or you felt guilty. There was emotions. Start looking at previous incarnations and figure out what you gain, because each lifetime you gain more knowledge about who you are and who your soul and spirit really is. And that's why we keep coming back. is that learning more about who we are. We've got some of the most amazing spirits on the planet right now. These young people, the Generation Z, my gosh, they're amazing. They're not in lockstep with everybody else. They're thinking for themselves. They're thinking about what they want to do. Those are the ones that are between, I believe it's 9 and 20 right now. But they're going to be doing a lot of things. They're going to be more on the move. They're not going to be happy having a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. They're going to want to have mobility. They've got a lot of things that they're thinking about. They might get married, they might not. They may be non-binary, or they may not. They have choices that are making them feel good about themselves. Well, a lot of generations didn't feel good about themselves ever because they bought into what people were saying. We've got this new generation coming up. Learn some of their language and learn to talk to them. Somebody said, oh, I can't understand them. So find out what they're saying. If you have a neighbor next door that speaks Spanish, learn Spanish. I mean, start looking at what you can do to develop. It doesn't make any difference how old or how young you are. You can learn something new. And my guide is always talking about, what did you learn today? This person is, will I have a job career change 2023? And how can I continue to challenge myself in this area? What my guide says is, you're not going to have a new profession, but you're going to have a new job. There's somebody that you're going to run into, and it doesn't look like you're going out knocking on doors. There's somebody you're going to meet that says, we've got a job. So please keep your eyes and ears open, because this is going to be an opportunity that's fantastic, and there's going to be more money than you're making right now. It doesn't look like it's out of the area. It looks like it's local. Okay. All right, now that I've answered some of people's questions, I'm sure what it did was open up more questions. Anybody from the floor that wants to? Yes, Mary.
Should I go more in the art direction, or should I go more in the healing products that I'm making direction this year?
Which feeds your soul? Which do you like the best?
Art.
Okay, so how can you put that in, and start looking at how you can take your healing products, okay, and what are the logos you're going to have for them? How are you going to be putting it out on, because it's a product just like art could be, but art's not selling now, and healing products are. So what Ma says, take your art and do your logo, your branding, and everything else with that, and then that ties it in with the healing arts, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
Are we ready for remote?
Yeah, we're ready for Zoom.
Okay, Zoomers. Linda, what does Moss see for me about my current job? Will I continue to be employed? Do you see a different job?
For Linda, that job is, as long as it continues, hold on to it. Because you're still learning some new things, and it's a good job for you. Ma says that we'd love to have a job that's closer to home, but this job is not something that we want you to let go of, so you don't have one. Don't you dare quit unless you already have another job.
Okay, from Joyce. What does 2023 bring for my publishing, my writings?
Ma says, you're not writing enough and you're not doing it often enough. And you need to sit down every day and do at least 1.5 to 2 hours writing to have the material ready that you want to this year.
Sherry, what does Ma see for me in the new year, this year?
Yeah, talk about writing. Ma says that you're going to be finishing another book, and you need to talk to a publisher that's going to put out the work you've already written, because you just put it out there, but you're not pushing it, and it needs to be pushed.
From Ann, what does Ma have to say about what's coming up for me after I leave the corporate world and start a new path? Any idea of what areas I should be looking?
Ma says that you're a good psychic. You ought to look at doing that. You're in a new area, and they find out what the rules are about doing that. But it's a good business for you, and you're not only going to be making money at it, but you're also going to be meeting more people than you would be normally.
And one more from Patty. Is there anything I need to know about staying healthy for 2023 and beyond?
Ma says that 2023, we're finally going to find out what's going on with your body. You have a surgery coming up that feels good, but it doesn't feel perfect. So you might start looking at getting another opinion, find out what else you can do. And that's going to keep you healthy. Your diet's great, your exercise is great. You're taking care of your body, but part of your body is just not reacting the way it should.
You're free to roam around
I'm free to roam around. What else? Yes, April.
Is my son Kyle going to find a partner this year?
If he gets out of the house and looks. Right now, he's not looking. I mean, for any of you who want a partner, what are you doing to get one? Go places, do things, look good, act good, and shine. So many people just sneak into places, little hoodie over their head, and say, why don't I meet anybody? So, throw back the hoodie and wear a red shirt or something, because people need to notice you to be interested. Stop hiding yourself in a shadow. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm lucky I got pursued. For those of you, I'd like to take a moment. Please send your prayers out to my wife. Corky is very under the weather, having her shoulder replaced, and it's her right shoulder. And she can't move that right arm for a few more weeks, and it's driving her crazy because she can't even be on the computer. Can you imagine not being on the computer, guys? And so please, if you think of anything, think of Corky and send her your love. And that's the thing. I was shining when she decided she was interested in me, okay? If I had been sitting in my little home not doing anything but raise kids, she never would have noticed me. Each one of you have to shine and go where the people you like hang out. And don't look for somebody in a bar, okay? Because usually they drink. Think about it. If you think you have problems being in a relationship with an alcoholic, it doesn't get much better until they decide to change their life. So go places, do things you like to do, and you'll meet people that like to do the same things you do. I know it sounds really easy, but people are always looking for the right person in the wrong place. So let's take that and turn it around, okay?
Dottie?
Yes.
Sky asks, are things going to get better for women in Iran?
Oh, good, very good question. My guide says things are going to be changing. Are they getting a lot better? Not this year until closer to November, because there's so much shakeup that's going to have to be done to get better. But they're going to start being improving, meaning it's going to be slow and it's going to be gradual. And we've got a whole new generation coming up that's getting ready to take over. And it's a generation that's not bogged down in all of the religious and monetary things that they were before. Okay. Yes, Christine.
Just a general reading for Loni and I.
Loni's health is not good, and Ma says that she needs to not only look at her physical health, but her spiritual and mental health. Does she like dogs? She needs a puppy. I mean, you get what I mean. She needs something that is fun to play with, that can occupy her time and her energy.
We have a dog, but his health isn't that good.
But something that she can do where she doesn't have to sit down and watch television all day. Or
Any hints of how they get her? Because
ask her, say, if we had $1 million, what would you want? And then take that. When you have a partner who's depressed and sick, which is your honey is, what you have to do is to start out up here and say, your fondest wish. And if she says she wants to visit Turkey, for instance, way out there, say, let's get some videos about Turkey and you and I will learn about it. Find out what she wants to do, and then we'll see how it's workable within your schedule, okay? Within your parameter. Okay. And you know, she's going to say, well, you talk all the time, okay? Because you're trying to find out what she wants. So plant the seed and then back up. The same way you grow a tree. You plant the seed and you don't stand there yakking at the tree every day. You know, you just plant the seed and let it grow. Well, that's the same thing here. Plant the seed of what is it she really wants. And if she says, and some of you will have people in your life that do this. They go, I just want to die. Have you heard of anybody like that? I just don't want to be here anymore. And say, where would you like to be? Yes. And talk about it. You know, listen to it. Not talk about it, listen to what they have to say. Okay? Now, somebody else had a hand up. Yes, how are you today? It's been a long time. Welcome.
So what's going on in Ukraine? Is it going to come to an end in 2023?
Is Ukraine coming to an end? No, Ukraine is going to be bouncing back.
I mean, you know, the war.
Yeah, the war is. Now, you want to get into other stuff? Mom says that Putin is not going to be here next year, later. I'm not too sure when. And I can't tell you for sure whether he dies or he's locked up. But something's happening where his command and control is taken away. And he doesn't do it voluntarily. Okay, so and that could be disease. I mean, I'm not too sure what it is. It's just what Ma says about that. Okay, Ukraine is going to become very robust. Ukraine has so much as far as grain, exports, everything. Well, that's why Putin wants it, because it has so much to give us. It's just we've got to help them. And that's what I get. Ma says that a lot of other countries are going to be bouncing in and helping. But we have Iran that needs help. We have Burma, Myanmar, who really needs help. We have countries all around the world who need help. So what you do is find a country or a people that you want to support and find out what you can do to help them. Okay, it's real easy for us to say we want the Ukraine to be better, but what are you doing to help them get better? And for some of you, if you feel like financially I can't help them, but spiritually you can, pray for them. I believe in prayer. We're going to have Reverend Mary Gary is going to be talking about prayer at a class we have on the 5th. There's prayer. We found that prayer changes things. Scientifically, they have shown that prayer changes things. It used to be we just felt it did. Now we can prove it scientifically. So put Ukraine in your prayers and pick an aspect of it that you really feel can be helped. Okay, not overall. Well, I want help for Ukraine. Say, I want the children of Ukraine to feel free, or something specific. And let's start working on that. Okay. Okay. Yes, April.
Is China gonna take over Taiwan?
I don't get, what Mom says about China and Taiwan is the same thing almost as the Ukraine. They want them back. And they feel that they shouldn't be out there on their own doing so well. And I really get that China's going to be doing a lot of saber rattling and all that. But what Mom has said is one of the things to worry about with China is the nuclear testing they're doing and the nuclear things. And that's one of those things they might threaten Taiwan with. And Ma says, well, all we can do is there again, find out who you can support that's Taiwanese. We've got a lot of people that are Taiwanese in this country. Talk to someone from Taiwan and say, what can I do to help you support your country? Okay? And look at start getting involved, I think, is the basic line on that, and see what you can do. Okay, any other questions?
One from Linda. Once the housing prices drop, what year will they go back up again?
2025. Okay. Okay. The pandemic isn't over. There's going to be more efficient boosters. They're able to handle some of the variants, but it's not going to handle all. please take care of yourself. Do all the things that we know we should be doing, because everything is blossoming in the winter. They've got all of these viruses that really start moving fast in the wintertime. Loni was telling us about a family that she knows. My son just got it. His girlfriend got it. I mean, COVID is just out there. And these are people who've been vaccinated and boosted. They're not dying. They're getting sick, but they're not dying. And so for me, I had lost 8 people through COVID. People had died. And now since they've gotten, all the people I surround myself with have gotten vaccinated and boosted, I haven't lost anybody. But I have people that are getting sick. So just know that they're trying the best they can to keep us well, but we've got to start trying to keep ourselves well and work on that. Because when the weather gets colder, those viruses seem to move because we get our houses hotter. And then we're making little petri dishes in our homes. And so watch that. Your home doesn't have to be at 72. Your home can be at 68 and you can wear a coat or something, but you don't have to get this really hot, mushy atmosphere in your house. Ma says that's what causes a lot. Yes, Valerie?
I'm just wondering about all these people I run into that don't believe in vaccinations, but they want to hang out with me.
Don't.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
I don't believe it.
If you feel that that's the type of person that if you don't want to hang out with them, say you don't want to hang out with them. Don't make them wrong. Don't say, I hear people say, well, they're no good. No, they're not. They're people that have a different opinion. I don't believe in making people wrong.
And then I just had to disengage quite a bit lately because a lot of friends I've had for many decades became QAnon. So
isn't that great? They're doing something different. I'm such a positive person. I don't make people wrong for their politics or their genitalia. I just accept everybody. So just say, oh, that's new and different.
Yeah.
Okay, and that works. Okay. The stock market's going to continue having problems. Folks, if this is not a good time to invest. I don't care if you get a hot tip. Stock's going to be bouncing, and it's going to be bouncing most of all this year because inflation is with us for the next 2 years. We'll watch it. Gasoline prices are going to be coming down a bit for this year. If you can find it for $3 a gallon, go for it. But it looks like it's kind of stuck in the high threes, lower $4. And I think you can live with that. We can't with the $8 stuff, but it's going to stay around 4, so that feels really good. The energy for the last 3 years has been hard on everybody. This COVID thing has just whipped folks, and don't give up. We've had this, I can remember the polio, how awful it was. My mother had polio. I would go to school with kids that were on crutches from polio. It was nasty, and we got rid of it by vaccination. It started out with vaccination and then went to sugar cubes, but it was the same thing. And at that point in time, people just were very, very cautious of their kids, and they wanted to make sure that they were protecting their kids. And I think that's one of those things that we have to look at, is a lot of people don't have children these days that have decided not to have kids, and that's great, that's their choice. But they're not realizing that what other people do is going to affect them, especially those that aren't getting vaccinated. So, but don't make them wrong. Say, okay, that's interesting. Well, that's my favorite line. Somebody tells me something, they go off on some tangent, and I go, oh, that's interesting. Or okay, and that's my other favorite one. Okay, okay. So think about that. The other thing is that start nurturing these young groups. When I talk about this Generation Z, they're going to be moving. They're shakers. They're going to be changing everything. We got caught in how it was. How many of you say to yourself, well, it used to be, or I could do this, instead of, what can I do now? Where can I move? What can I do? What kind of career can I have? Start looking forward instead of backward, because Ma says that people who look backward start thinking that they are doing right and anyone who thinks forward is wrong. And you'll hear this in a lot of older people. Well, we used to. Well, if you ever are on my Facebook, I'm one of those that someone says the good old days, and I said they weren't good, they were just old. And I'll take you on, okay? I went to school with kids that had been battered by their parents so badly they could hardly walk. I went to school with kids with cleft palates and club feet. You don't see that anymore, thank goodness. I went to school with, the death rate in the kids was very high, and that was in the 40s. And they don't talk about that. They don't talk about the racial things, all of the racial terms that you've never even heard. Every group had a racial term that said you're no good. And I was going to school with people who were called Okies or Arkies, and they were put down because of where they came from. And you don't need to do that anymore, folks. That's not considered politically correct, okay? You can come on in. I'll tell you what we're doing. I'm doing readings, so we're doing psychic readings, and if you have a question, all you have to do is raise your hand, okay? Now, one of the things I think was interesting, Ma said that Washington, D.C., will be making inroads into becoming a state, so it's like, yay. That sounds good. That's something that I know they've been looking for. How many of you know the main reason it hasn't become a state? No. Why does it? No. The reason is because the majority of black people in the state, and that's why they haven't wanted it to be a state. So we've got to do something about that. We've got to say, okay, well, we don't believe that we should have our government in a place where they won't even allow statehood, okay? Battery-operated automobiles are going to be, every major automobile company is going to be making them, okay? So if you want to look at getting a deal, or what Ma says you should do is get a handbook that tells you how to take care of a battery-operated automobile before you buy one. Find out. See, learning something about anything that you don't know about is incredible. So find out a way to set that up so you can learn about it. Okay, weather's going to be turbulent in California. We're going to have some more earthquakes. We're going to have some more storms. And we're going to have more fires. So when you think about it, you go, well, why am I living in California? Because when it's good, you know? And so think about that if you're thinking about moving. Find a state where they don't have anything going on, and you'll find there's very few. Maybe Hawaii, okay? And even there they have volcanoes, yes. But there's going to be plenty of storms charging across the country this year. We're going through all of this as far as climate change. So don't argue about it. Don't fight about it. Say, what can I do to work with it? And I think you get the tenor of my guide is that you can make a difference, but complaining doesn't change it. It just makes the other person upset. So think about how can I start changing your attitude and what you're doing and where you're going. Okay. One of the things that really surprised me as I was channeling early this morning is that the people in England are going to get upset about the royalty. There's going to be a lot of people going on that they don't think they need the crown in charge this year. And so you're going to hear rumbles about that. And also that there's 3 African countries that are going to secede from Great Britain. So I didn't get the names of those countries, but they are also getting tired of, they feel that they want to run their own country. So those are things that I've been seeing that are really interesting. Okay? That's it. We're at 12 o'clock. Okay, I'll take two more
I
quick.
just wondered if Ma could be more specific about the earthquakes. So they're going to be little ones or big ones?
Yes. He says that the majority of them are going to be under 6.
Okay.
Okay. But a 5 is a pretty heavy one.
Yeah.
Centrally
And,
located here or elsewhere?
California, that's just, I've never lived more than 10 miles from a fault line in my life. I've always been, whether it's Hayward or the San Andreas or whatever. So I've walked and rolled all my life. And I think a lot of you have who were born in California. You just, well, that's the way. I kind of like earthquakes better than storms because I don't know when they're coming. I kind of like that.
How is it about the tornadoes? You never know where you're going to end up.
Right.
The earthquake, you're going to be here.
You're still here. So just make sure that you have things that are against the walls that aren't going to tumble. Look at anything that could fall, and just make sure to protect yourself because we are going to be having some earthquakes. Yes. Okay. Last question. Anybody else? Yes, Gabrielle.
What's the Billy DeFrank Center going to be able to do more of in 2023?
Okay, well, my guide is being very flip with you right now because he says whatever you wanted to do. But I think what you're saying is, how can you make a difference in the community? And Ma says, even though you advertise, you're still advertising to the community. And there's a lot bigger community than the advertisement is reaching. And Ma says you need to do things that take in more people. That you don't have to be LGBTQ to be coming here. That's what this center is for. But if you're somebody who's supportive, that you want to be here because you support the community. My guide says start looking for supporters of the community, not just the community supporting itself. Okay?
E-flag.
Yeah, that's a good one. P-flag is a good one, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And now if you'd all, thank you. We're going to pass a basket. If you feel motivated to put something in it, fine. If you don't, yay, that's the way it is. And we're here every Sunday. Center for Creative Living. We're here from 11 to 12. We'd like, if any of you came here and you met somebody you like, or you heard something you wanted to take home with you, that's great. Thank you, Ed, for doing all of the wonderful sound and everything. That's wonderful. And thank you, Gabrielle.
If you have a prayer request, it can go in the basket.
If you have a prayer request, it can go in the basket and we pray on them, okay? And Gabrielle, thank you so much for putting this together for this afternoon. I think it's going to be wonderful. I have a wife at home. I've got to go take care of.
And also, you may have to heat the food in the microwave.
Okay.
Do you want to do the prayer?
Yeah. And for those of you who haven't done this before, you find that you have a prayer on the back of your program we handed out, and it says, "Giving to the ministry from which I receive my spiritual support and nurturing is an affirmation and consciousness of the truth that Spirit is the prospering power enriching every area of my life." And so it is.
So it is.
And I want to thank you all for being here. And who do we have next? I don't know who we have next week, so you can always go on Center for Creative Living and check out our webpage and find out what's happening. Thank you very much for showing up. We do appreciate it.